You guys are running black Herefords. That right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Not
So
some Angus and some red Hereford still too, but yeah.
okay. Now I know that's a registered breed, but is that like a genetic recessive deal like the Red Angus, or is that just are
No,
they
it's
able
a
to?
starts out as a hybrid with the Angus, and then they breed
Okay.
Angus back out of it, keeping the black hide.
Okay.
So an actual
So
black
you're just
Hereford is 5/8 or better black Hereford or Hereford.
okay.
Mhm.
I see. Okay, so you're wanting those. You're going from a F1 cross to, and then just going straight back onto Hereford. So you're getting more like the white through the
Yep.
neck and
Yep.
that. Okay, I've seen your pictures in on Facebook and whatnot, and I've just never delved that deep into black Herefords because in the feedlot, it's either black hided or it's not, and I mean that's about how you sort them anymore,
Mhm.
other than weight. So like, you got southern cattle and northern cattle basically, and then and then you got Ozark shit, but that's a whole different deal. But uh, no, I kept meaning to look into the black Hereford, but it's pretty interesting because I really like a Hereford cow,
Mhm.
and the calves. A lot of times they do pretty decent in the feedlot, and they can get a little tough in the summer, but for the most part they do pretty good, and it's good meat.
Mhm.
It's always good
Yeah,
meat.
we do. For our area, we really need a high percentage Hereford so we can have that efficiency and their traveling ability, and they also do well at elevation.
Yeah,
So, but adding on that Angus a little bit puts in a little bit better carcass quality, a little bit better milk.
yeah,
Really gets kind
See,
of yeah, and it can hit the CAB market without having reds knocked out.
yeah. That's pretty damn handy. So, I don't know how many people we got watching right now, but anyways, welcome Daylight Burners. Got some old friends on the show. We got Logan and Jennifer Hill. You guys are out of Rangeley ish. I know you're not in any real town, but you're kind of in that
Yeah,
area.
when we
Uh,
yeah,
claim it.
yeah.
yeah, my sister went to flight school up in Rangeley, so I spent a little bit of time there, not much. I wasn't young enough to, or I wasn't old enough to get in any trouble over there, so probably a good thing or she graduated before I got old enough to do much, but it's a good part of the world. Um, and Jen is more of a city chick now, turned ranch wife. Logan, you're what, like fourth or fifth generation on
Fifth,
your
yeah,
place?
yeah.
Yeah,
We've
that's
hosted
awesome.
in the 1880s.
Okay, and you're LDS, right?
No, not really.
Not really. Or you were? Are you? Is your family part of the exodus out to Utah?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, my mom's side of the family was.
Okay. I thought for some reason I'd heard that from somewhere, but I wanted to ask before I just blurted out that you were. But uh, uh, yeah, so we all went to school at Colorado State, and went to school there at the same time, graduated roughly the same time, and we know a lot of the same people. And I would say out of all of our like ag crew, we are probably the most radical anarchist of everybody. Everybody else is. We got a handful
Yes.
of the lefties, and then just a whole bunch of like just barrel beating Trump conservatives. That kind of sums it up, don't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
much.
And then
That's
and then
it.
there's us. They're just like burn it all, hang them all, leave me alone.
I got a
Yeah.
call this evening from a gal just running a survey, a political survey, and she asked who I was most likely to vote for if the presidential election was held today. And I said, well, Kanye. It was dead silence for a solid minute.
Yeah.
Yeezy 2020.
Exactly.
I. It's funny is you got all these dead red conservatives who are like, oh, Kanye, what a joke. Donald Trump all the way. He went a from one reality star to the next reality star, and
Exactly.
there ain't a And honestly, Kanye might be more impressive. Like what Trump has done is pretty damn impressive, whether you like his policies or not. But he took down the Clintons and he took down the Bushes, and he's so far managed to beat back the deep state. So it's pretty impressive. But his policies for the most part are dog shit. But just watching it all is
the political theater has been fabulous, and that's really all you.
That's what I told. I told people is like, if you look at him like a comedian rather than the president, you'll like him a whole lot more. Oh, but yeah, it's been wild, and I've been following some of you guys' posts on Facebook, and you guys are pretty firmly in NCBA camp, aren't you?
Well, in certain ways.
Okay, so here's my spiel on NCBA. We have gone most years for at least the last, 12, 13 years, whether as members and just attendees, or we've also worked the Black Hereford booth as well. And we have really been taken aback by just how big it's gotten and opulent. This last year, one of their main speakers was Scott Kelly, the astronaut. And, he gets
the anti-gun guy?
Or was it the brother?
No.
One of the two twins that went up to space.
The one that did the year in space, whichever his name was.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was... Because isn't Gabby Gifford's
husband? They're twins, and they both went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so this, he gives his inspirational speech about how he was a dipshit in high school, and then he pulled his life together and went to space, and it's all well and good, very inspirational, whatever. You go into the convention space afterwards, and they've hired a bunch of presumably strippers who are walking around in like orange NASA jumpsuits, just smiling and waving, stripper heels in their jumpsuits, and you can't help but sit back.
Where do I send my NCBA dues to?
Right?
Address for that or what?
I figure they were just excited to have some clothes on for once and still be getting paid. But it was weird.
That's crazy. I've never been to one of those conventions.
They've kind of gotten out of touch with the producer, and it's coming back and biting them hard now. And while I don't mind them being knocked back a peg or two, Chekhov to me is what's scary. We can't lose Chekhov over this.
Well, I don't know. I don't agree with Chekhov, but I don't think that's the battle you start with. Like, because it really is a minuscule amount of money. Regardless, it's a tax. It is. And so on principle, I don't agree with it. But there's a lot of other shit you can tackle first, and I don't remember which one of you said it, but if $1 a head is gonna set you or put you under, like your operation's way worse off than just the beef checkoff program. So that's one of those ones where you look back at it, the producers pushed it through with the backing of the Packers and everything, and it is what it is, and that's far from like the top level of priorities that people should be tackling right now. And the number one should be opening up these small processors, and that so like the Prime Act is that has really got to be pushed through. I don't know why it's not, but we're really lucky that the supply chain is as efficient as it is, because we didn't really have any food shortages. I mean, there was slight scarcity in beef, but there was no real shortages like food line or bread lines and anything like that. So, but if you the more people you have producing, the less of an impact something like COVID makes. So,
well, and I was really concerned when NCBA came out against Prime Act. That by no means means that either of us are members of RCAF or support RCAF by any means, but I was disappointed to see that.
Yeah.
My concern with losing Chekhov is really all about that promotion. I have a lot of guys arguing with me right now, well, the Packers should just promote their own product because they're making all the profit anyway. But these are the same packers that are huge into the lab meat. You know, you've got JBS, you've got Tyson. They're both pushing that lab meat hard. Why would we ever trust that they're going to actually promote and advertise something that's harder to deal with? I just don't trust them.
That's absolutely right. And you know who you can trust, though? Stetson Ranches. Stetson Ranches is the lead sponsor of Burning Daylight, and they help pay the bills around here. So, we're talking about ranching. We're talking about multi-generational ranching in the Hills case here. Well, the Stetson's got the similar type of deal going on up there in Fromberg, Montana. They're doing direct-to-consumer beef. They are running registered Black Angus cows on registered Hereford bulls. Kind of a black Hereford, but not quite. F1 Baldy crosses is what they got on beef. They're good cattle. Good cattle. Beautiful place. Hard-working folks. They knew when to get out of the oil business and run. Go build that legacy ranch that'll be around for years to come. They're talking about being a sustainable ranch in the actual meaning of the word, as sustaining from generation to generation, and being able to support a family and their families. You know, not the Greenpeace hippy dippy bullshit type of sustainable that we've been preached for the last 10 or so years, but actual sustainability with this boxed beef program. Industrial hemp. They're kind of wild outlaws up there in Montana growing hemp, but it's pretty awesome. And they also got some really nice, big, deep-bodied, big-boned, athletic, old blood foundation quarter horse mares that they are breeding to some really top-notch studs, and just a top-notch place. If you'd like to inquire about their beef, you're gonna get basically every cut on the animal for about price of ground beef that you'd pay at the grocery store, so right around $5-6 a pound. But shoot us a message over at the Burning Daylight page, and we'll put you in touch with the Stetson Ranch. And also we've got Loma Livestock down in your part of the world, right? Hills.
Yep.
How far are you guys from Loma?
About an hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah, so you'd be about like I'd be to going to Lamar or something like that. All right.
They're our neighbor sale barn.
Yep. About as close as it from there.
Cool. Well, you guys probably do some business with old Loma Livestock, don't you?
Yep.
We do.
Awesome. How's the experience there? Even though, don't ruin George's ad read. All right, damn it.
Well, he didn't get mad when we brought in a Maverick last week, so.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, Georgia, I think is doing it right over there. From what I've heard, I've heard some good reports back on Loma Livestock, but they just had a sale this Friday. They got one coming up next Friday. I don't know what time they're gonna do it next week. It's supposed to be hot next week or what? Probably.
Yeah.
All right. We're probably looking at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. But you know, if you can't make it, don't worry about it. Go over to dvauction.com. You can watch them online, and you can watch those cows sell, and you can bid on them. If not, go find it.
Bid a lot on them.
Yeah. 1369 12.5 Road. Give them a holler, 970-858-9988. Check them out online, lomalivestock.com. And finally, we got Matt Wilson with his Handmade bridle bits, and these things are awesome. Matt Wilson's an awesome guy. He's got an awesome family. Just pretty well exudes awesomeness. But he's just kind of a buckaroo type cowboy. Plays some music. But he also pounds out some really nice bridle bits. He does all the silver mounting, the copper, all the engraving, and they fit a horse really well. Both my mares that I've tried that bit that he made for me is they like it to death, and just feels nice, good balance, and they're made for the working cowboy, so that working cowboy prices, you're not going to break the bank on them. If you'd like to find him, look at some of his work, find him on Instagram at WampusCat Sound, WampusCat Sound, all one word. And as always, if you come across any of these folks, do any business, let them know you heard about it on Burning Daylight. All right, whew, back at it. So, yeah. So what are your guys' thoughts on this whole cattle market struggle? I guess before we do that, like give a little background of like how you guys run out there, because I'm somewhat familiar, just going off a Facebook post, and rough knowledge of the area, but I no way in the world I could tell like what a guy's typically going to do out in your part of the world. So I guess tell us that, and then what's your thoughts on where everything's headed?
Sure. Well, we're a completely range-based outfit. We have a little bit of irrigated pasture, but we don't have enough water for hay. So range out in the wintertime, feed some cake. Mostly we sell calves after about 60 to 75 days off cow, and background them for a little bit, and sell some heifers. And this year we expanded out a little bit, and well, we decided to retain some ownership on the heavy steers, and now, well, here we are in one of the worst markets we've had
what
in
a
10
freaking year to try that experiment.
Yeah, that was a great idea. And then we also do a little bit of registered black Herefords for selling bulls for commercial use and stuff. So we just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And we also do hunting on the side, the access hunts. We do a lot of deer and elk. I tried guiding one time. That was a wreck. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. But
That's funny.
I want to take a bow away from the guy and beat him with it.
Yeah, hunting season, people lose their goddamn mind as soon as hunting season
Yes, they do.
opens.
The most conservative, Trump supporting.
Property rights are awesome.
Oh yeah, they become a bunch of freaking communists.
Yeah, that's our ground over there.
Nobody should own this much property.
Yeah. Bunch of bigwigs with your thousands of acres, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just save some for the rest of us?
My favorite's when they'll corner me and be like, "Well, Jen Hill told me I could be here." It's like,
yeah.
did real nice that way. Fuck off.
That's funny. I had a cow trucker coming in when I was working for Five Rivers, and that was about 120,000 head yards, so it was nothing to get 40, 50 trucks a night from the big sale barns, or when you're getting a bunch of cattle off the Flint Hills and whatnot, wheat pasture. But we had 3 loads coming out of Kentucky, which typically take about, from start to finish when the first truck gets here. If you got 3 loads, you're looking at about an 18-hour difference from when they finally all straggle in. But for whatever reason, this crew was on the ball, and they all showed up within about 45 minutes of each other. But the first guy showed up right as we were bringing fat cattle to the scale to get ready to ship out. And so any feed yard, fat cattle take precedence, so they get loaded. Once all the fat trucks are gone, then you can unload your feeders. And so this one old boy, like my crew just went to get a pin, and they said, and then this guy showed up, and I said, well, if you hustle up, like I said, get backed up now and start unloading, I can get you out of the way before our fats come in. And so we just got him, like I was just pushing cattle off the scale, and here comes our fats, and it's perfect. Well, then his amigo bumps the scale, like right as I shut the scale gate. His amigo bumps the chute, and I was like, hey, you got to move. We're getting ready to weigh cattle. And he was, I don't know if he was from Kentucky, but he sounded like he was from Kentucky. And, but like, not the good part of Kentucky, like the coal miner's daughter part of Kentucky. And, he was definitely not a thoroughbred man. I don't believe.
In Kentucky.
He started ripping my ass up and down. And, so Joel Jarnigan is, he's now like CEO or something of, Green Plains Feeding, but he was the yard manager at Grant County Feeders at the time, and he's well, how about I just give old Joel Jarnigan a call about this, because Jeff Riley's expecting me to get these cattle here with this amount of shrink, and they're going to shrink even more while I'm sitting here, and that's going to be on my paycheck. I said, I'll call Jeff Riley and tell him that I made you wait. I've got his number in my phone. I don't have it anymore, I don't think, but And then he's like, well, how about I call Joel Jarnigan about this? I pulled out my phone and I was like, you hit send. And he's like, oh, well, I just read his name and come across the gate. I thought maybe it'd work. No. Oh, but yeah, hunters are a lot like that too.
Yeah.
When's early season start for y'all?
Yes, archery starts 1st of September.
Oh.
It goes all the way to
Posting.
the end of November.
Yeah, start posting signs now. No hunting.
Yeah, and
they don't last.
Put them up every 3 days.
Yeah, the favorite brand of tire for migrant workers. No hunting.
Yeah.
Well, and we have to have all of our gates even chained around the hinges anymore because they just come in and pull the gate straight up and take them. They don't even they steal the entire gate and just go.
Yeah. Last summer, we had some just get taken.
Yeah,
they didn't even bang them up and leave them hanging on the ground. They just took them. He's gone.
Well, shit. That was a rude awakening. Go check cows the next day. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You stay here and block this hole.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's wild. So, I'm not gonna ask how big your place is, but like, what percentage wise, like, what are you running, like grazing allotment versus deeded land?
It's we've got 85% BLM and 80% BLM, 15% private, and then 5% is state lease with Utah.
Okay. How like is a pretty good chunk of your spot over in Utah? I know you guys are right on the border there, but
we're right on the border. We run on both sides of the border. We don't have any private land in Utah anymore, but we've got some BLM allotments and state lease over there, and it's all contiguous. It just happens to be right on the line.
Okay, right on. You got the same brand and everything registered in both states?
Yeah, we do. Cross an arm and a leg every 5 years, but we've got them.
Yeah, yeah. That I was looking at getting a brand registered here, and Kansas is really easy. You pay $45 and it lasts you 5 years.
Wow.
And, but it's not a real
there, right? In Kansas?
Yeah, there's 2 counties that are brand are legit brand counties, and the rest of the state's not. I mean, they have a brand book, and most people do brand, but you don't need a brand inspection or anything, except for Hamilton County and Greeley County, which Hamilton County is where I lived. It's just right on the Colorado border, and then that's where the first sale barn in the state is too. So, being on Colorado border, it made sense. But yeah, it was no problem at all. And then I start trying to register a brand here, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta dig deep to find a good brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one figured out, but I'm not gonna say. I'll tell you guys after we're done recording. I don't want anybody to steal it from me because it's a good single iron brand. So you're kind of high desert type country. Is it more mountains or like canyon type
It's
stuff?
kind of both. It's steep canyons. There isn't much top on top of the mountains. It's 100 yards wide and then straight down 1,000 feet on both sides, basically. And we're fairly high elevation. Our lowest point is at 5,200 feet, and then we go up to 9,000.
Okay. How far north of Grand Junction are you guys? It's been a while since I've been over that part of the world.
About 50 miles.
Okay. It'd take you, 2 hours to get there if you go?
Yeah, an hour and a half to 2 hours.
But just, straight line 50 mile. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yep. Right straight north of us, I-70, about 50 miles.
Okay. Yeah, I got spoiled living out on the plains. Everything's a grid. So, like, just eventually keep driving on a road and you'll meet up with a paved road somewhere and you'll be able to to find where you're at because they're just all a grid. But you throw
I
some
know
hills in
you
my way,
understand
and I don't know where
how
the fuck
you
I'm
guys
at.
lose cows out there. Like it's so flat. Don't you just kind of stand up on the back of the truck and go, "Oh, there she is."
Well, yeah, but you can't just do that. Otherwise, then you got to go home early and do actual work. That's why we're such good cowmen
One of
on
those
the
breeding
plains.
professors at CSU used to push that cows would not graze more than like a 10% grade.
I guarantee he never went to the book list because our cows,
Yeah,
graze 60 to 75%.
Well, and you could have like belly deep grass down on the bottom, and they'd still go find those high points. Just
ours do, yeah.
Fuck you, that's why, yeah. Because fuck you, that's why.
Exactly. Add that into the column of useless lies they taught us.
Yep.
Yeah, I was sitting through some seminar. I think it was through University of Nevada Extension here about a year ago, and they're talking about they did a study in I think it was in Arizona on some real high elevation, but they had like really good grass down in the bottoms, and still like 30% of the cattle just went straight up to the top, and like they didn't leave until they had to come down. Like they had to send cowboys and dogs after them, but they eventually came down. But it was just like they put EID trackers or like GPS trackers on them, so they monitor their movements, and they like kept them down in this little meadow for like 3 or 4 days and just made them graze down there, and then they'd move out a little ways each day, and eventually just let them on their own. And yeah, those cows, like they did a couple times, and those cows always went straight to the top, and they were always in worse condition coming down too, because they, they just ran out of shit at the top. They're just like, fuck you, I ain't coming down until you make me.
Yep.
But
Okay.
cows are they're not quite as like personality driven as a horse, but they're like the ones that are like they'll stick out. They'll stick out a long ways. And they're usually the ones that when you're about a half mile out, their head pops up and their tail starts to stick up too.
Yeah, we worked pretty hard to get rid of those and send them to George, but
yeah, for sure. George will run them. He don't care. Yeah. So what's the black Hereford market like? Is there quite a few? There's quite a bit of demand for that. I honestly don't have any idea.
it's pretty strong in a lot of areas. There's only a handful of breeders here in the Mountain West that are doing it, and we sell out every year.
Nice.
Well, there's the market's so saturated down in the Southeast. There's a lot of different breeders down there, and people don't like to buy bulls, of quality in the Southeast. So they kind of just go keep their own bull or something, and our members don't really have much marketing opportunity. But out here, we're getting rid of them right and left.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, and it's come a long way. When we first got into this, maybe 10 years ago?
Almost 10 years.
We got laughed at a lot.
That's right.
That's a baldy. What the hell are you talking about? That's not a thing.
Yeah.
And we don't get laughed at near as much anymore.
Yeah. You're starting to see them around in other people's pastures, and yeah.
Sam, the outfit is over by Rangeley, Colorado. Go ahead. Sorry, we had a question about the live stream, but
we hit the Angus, the CAB, and the CHB both, and they generally grade well, like an Angus, and have all that efficiency that a Hereford has.
Yeah, so they're pretty moderate frame cattle, aren't they?
Mostly, yeah.
I say Hereford, you're a big Hereford's running like 1,300, but that's a big Hereford.
Right.
So I would imagine you guys are what, like 1,100-1,200 pounds on your cows?
Ours are a little bigger than the average black Hereford, are running around that 1,250.
Okay, that's about right. And a little bit rangy on. You guys get a little leg on yours? I'm just guessing, being in kind of hill type country, you'd kind of want a little leg.
We lost you there for a second. Say that again.
I said, do you guys got a little leg on your cattle, or?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't like anything that's belly's dragging in the dirt. Yeah, they have to have some height. And, I shoot for a bull or cow that's frame size 5.7 to 6.5, just because you've got to have some size in order to travel.
Yeah,
and
I kind of
walk
figured. I kind of figured, being in that part of the world where it's pretty tough country, they gotta earn their keep. Like,
yeah,
you can't. It's not Montana where you can just they can just lay down and not move for the day and still be fine. They gotta
Yeah.
they gotta go find some feed.
yeah.
Yeah, we figure we're taking what a lot of us have been breeding for. And back in it, we've got the EDs on them. We can really follow the genetics and make it something predictable that works.
Yeah, so you took a desirable cross and made a breed out of it, basically, and that's shit. Might as well. That's what they did with Brangus and Santa Gertrudis and all that, all those other ones. So might as well have a black Hereford. It makes sense.
Yep.
That's a good cross, I'd say. I mean, I've always liked a Hereford. They get made fun of a lot because they're prone to pink eye. They're prone to prolapse every now and then, but pretty damn good mamas. They don't take a whole lot of feed.
And the black Herefords got a lot more pink. They're pigment around their eyes. They don't tend to get the pink eye as much as the red ones do.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. So what kind of relationship do you guys have with the BLM? Let's just rip that Band-Aid off. Like, do you guys get along? I guess, from what I understand, most producers have a pretty decent relationship with, like, their guy on the ground, guy or gal.
That is true. Yeah.
Once you get above that initial contact, it seems when shit goes downhill. But,
yeah. So the range cons, yeah, pretty much. The range cons that are actually managing the allotments and working hand in hand with us, the ranchers, are usually pretty darn good people. But it's when you're trying to get a project done, and you've got their office manager, and then you've got the ARC study people, and you've got the endangered species person on staff. They're all have to run apart, and that's where the challenge is, because some of them don't want to see us there, and some of them are just really lazy.
Well, and they're really afraid of public perception too. They get nailed in the media a lot, and there's just no cojones there to do the right thing. If it also means hippie old lady's going to be on TV crying about it, they just don't have the stomach for it. And in the end, we all kind of get caught in a bad situation. We've got a lot of wild horses in our area, and we struggle. Well,
feral horses.
Yeah.
And that's been a really, really big struggle for us.
Yeah, we've got that out here. Not so much in the valley.
So that's really
yeah, but the next valley over, like, it's. I worked for one of those wild horse feedlots for about a month, and that guy was making some buku money off the taxpayers. I know what he was paying me was a lot for what it was, and for how he had it set up. Like, I've been in the feedlot for 10, 11 years now, and so, like, I worked for some good outfits. I've worked for some, pretty shoddy outfits, but they all had a feed ration that they fed, and, like, everybody had a feed call that they fed. Each pen was called this amount of feed. They're not so much on them wild horses. It was just like, just look at your scale. Okay, that's a start, but, like, how much? Like, what? Or at least, like, what's your ballpark figure per head intake? Yeah, whatever. You know, the government's paying for it, so what the fuck ever. It was a wild deal. There's you know, reason it only lasted a
Well, and
bit.
we run into, so we're not even in a designated horse management area. They built one. A few of the horses got caught outside of it. They were supposed to be zeroed out and cleared out entirely, and it's the government. So of course that never happened. And they just inbred and grew, and now they're their own huge population that aren't even in a protected area. And the BLM still can't go in and gather them without it winding up in federal court.
And now we've got about 300 to 350 of them.
And they're just, pushing everyone's grazing to the side. You got to take a hit on all of your grazing allotments because the horses are here.
Yep.
What do they classify one of those Mustangs as AUM wise?
They are 1.3.
Okay, and a pair is 1.1.
Yeah, no, a beef cow pair is 1.
It was 1. So a single horse, just whether it be stud, mare, whatever, but without a foal at their side is a 1.3, as opposed to a pair of cattle at being at 1. And you've got 300 heads, so yeah, you're looking at what, close to 400 animal units right in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and they don't travel well, so they just totally destroy whatever area they're in, tromp it down till there's nothing, and they're starving.
Yeah,
they're don't worse than sheep because they don't have anybody herding them.
They don't migrate up and down a mountain. They just stay in the lowland as long as the water holds out, and then they find the nearest water and stay there until they kill that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's 400 extra cows that you guys could be supporting on a yearly basis that you just don't have that opportunity to because of a bunch of fucking feral horses.
Yep.
Have you tried shooting them with estrogen?
Yeah, and they did the genetic study on them, trying to prove that they went back to the Spanish horses or not. It's a bunch of ranch crap.
It's got a Cortez special on this range. Yeah. Have you tried shooting them with progesterone? Because that was a proposed deal. I think they actually tried that.
Yeah, they do that. There's a big horse area north up by Craig that they do that at. It's fairly successfully because it's got limited water and it's really flat. So they can track all the horses and stuff, but it doesn't work down here.
Yeah, well,
not in the canyon.
I'm sure it's successful. Like how cost efficient it is, that's a different. Because I've used those dart guns, and unless you're putting some petroleum jelly or whatever over the tip before you shoot it, all that medicine's coming spraying out the needle as soon as that thing leaves the barrel. And you might get some in them, but if it's a 1cc shot on one of those mares, you probably better be packing 5 in that syringe.
Yeah.
And and then still, who knows how much is gonna get there. I mean, it's a handy tool for like a one-off treatment, but to control a Mustang population that's on our money, that's the big thing. I don't care if somebody wants to try it on their own, but yeah, it's our money. That's the thing that a lot of these people don't get is like I said, for what they were paying me at that wild horse facility, which was not a public facility. It was a privately owned facility, but it was all BLM horses and burros, which the burros are pretty fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think they should be protected, but the burros are pretty fucking cool. But they the amount of money they spent keeping those things in a feedlot every year, and paying not only enough this guy enough so that he could pay his crew. Plus, you had the BLM wranglers that came in twice a week, something like that. You had a farrier that came in and trimmed hooves once a month, and I mean, there's a lot of money that went into that deal, and boy, I hope you guys hope you feel accomplished because we paid for it all.
Yeah.
Hope you got some real pride of ownership there.
Goes back to those anarchist comments we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into a little bit to the. So you guys are NCBA. Are you still members at NCBA or?
Yes.
Okay. From what I've gathered, like, I think NCBA is still. While I don't agree with him, if I was to join, I guess a trade association, my gut instinct and like, gut feeling would probably be with RKF because they, as much as I disagree with a lot of their policies, they ain't afraid to put up a fight and they don't give a fuck who hates them. They're just like they're kind of like Trump in that that instance. Like that they don't give a shit. Bill Bullard will he'll go up against anybody. NCBA.
Yeah. Your Southeast Colorado roots are showing a little in that.
A little bit,
That's
yeah.
a regional thing.
Like a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Kimmy Lewis was a good lady, rest her soul. She really was. I knew her for quite a while before she was in office. She's a good lady. Little bit of a firecracker, but she was a good lady. But I like when I come down to policy, like I don't agree with NCBA on a whole lot of stuff, but they hold the biggest sway, but they also have the Packers' ear, which everybody's crying collusion over the beef checkoff, and I guess if anybody's watching that doesn't know what the beef checkoff is, then you must be from the city. But it's $1 a head per tax, and anytime a live animal is traded, exchange hands, $1 goes into the pot. Half goes to the beef council, half goes to the state council, and then it gets distributed. State by state pay charges more, but whatever. At the federal level, it's a $1 per head on a live beef cattle. That's a big point of contention for a lot of people, but I don't think that's the right fight to take up. NCBA, like you said, they from your point, they've got bloated and out of touch, and I had this argument with Bill Bullard myself that NCBA and RCAF and U.S. Cattlemen's, they're just the new trade or the labor unions. I know legally they're different. They're a trade association, not a labor union. Legally, whatever. In the grand scheme of things, they do the exact same thing. It may not be called legally collective bargaining, but that's what it is. We're basically working for the Packers. They own the capital to get our animal out to producers for the most part. So in essence, that's who we work for. And so we, as a trade association, you were basically collectively bargaining against the Packers. And like all labor unions today, I think these trade associations served a vital purpose in their early days. They've got corrupted, they've got bloated, and just like government in general, they don't represent the people they're supposed to represent. They represent their own pockets. I don't think RCAF has got to that point because they don't have the membership or the funding to do so. However, they are very much like a Trump populist type deal where they are very much parroting to their base. They're not really trying very hard to expand that base, but they are making sure that the base they do have is very engaged, it seems like.
They're very engaged.
I would disagree with you a little bit saying they're like the Trump populist. I think they're actually a little bit more like the super far left that are just on every message board, and they are going to scream in your face all day long, and it may not make any sense.
This bitch on fire,
but they are going to be there.
I call them the Karens of the beef world.
That's not an inaccurate. That is not an inaccurate statement by any means. Yeah,
And they never win anything. So I guess if you're going to say that they're like the Republican Party, you could go with that.
yeah. I would say more they're like the state Democratic parties. They've got their strongholds, but outside of that, they don't win much.
Yeah, pretty much. No, for all its flaws, though, all the policies that come through NCBA they do start somewhere, and usually at some county level with some county affiliate of some state affiliate, and then they trickle all of their policy upwards, and that's what's driving our lobbyists. And as much as I dislike having the government over us, if we're not have somebody there watching us and watching them and supposedly working for us in a general direction, then that's the world we live in. Got to play the corruption game.
So, and NCBA came out against this Primac deal. I guess I didn't.
Yes,
see that,
which I fought.
That's really disappointing. Like
their argument was from a standpoint.
It was about losing the food safety inspection service.
That, if one person gets sick from bad meat, it's going to hurt the whole industry. Everybody suffers. I think that's a crock of crap.
I do.
But
I think
that was their argument.
That's where the real monopoly is, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, you're on the right point there. As like as much as these packers they do, like, as far as like the collusion and market manipulation, I 100% think that is happening actively. But they're playing the system that we built. That's the problem. If you go back to the 30s when cattle got classified as a commodity, that opened up to forward contracts. That opened up to these branded beef programs. Like CAB was a great move for the Angus people. Changed the industry forever because black-hided cattle, doesn't matter how good of a red cow or a white cow you got, the black-hided cow is going to do better, if they're of similar quality, just because of certified Angus beef. But that led to the formula-based marketing from these big feedlots, and all these steps that were taken over the years, they were championed by the producer. And for as much as these folks as will to survive as they had, especially here in the western US, it's not for the weak of heart. At some point, like, man, maybe they really had some bad insight as far as economics goes. They knew how to run cattle. They knew how to make a ranch sustainable from a production level, but on the marketing level, like, man, our forefathers kind of missed the mark a little bit. They set the ball in the wrong direction, and now we're feeling the consequences of it. 100 years down the road, and I really don't know what the solution is long term, but I've read the research from K-State on the country of origin labeling, and that'll get blasted as being packer funded or whatever, and there may be some bias in there, but overall, from just my anecdotal research that I've done, the producer doesn't care about the label, they care about the price. And just like the labor unions, the cattle producer is on the verge of pricing ourselves out of the market. And that's a real thing. I really believe that. And so while
I think we saw that when the pandemic started, when you went to the grocery store, it wasn't the cheap beef that was left. It was the high-priced, organic, grass-fed.
Yep, exactly.
The egg section, all the cage-free eggs that were left. Not because anybody cared about them being cage-free, but because the price point is still where our consumer is at. There are so many voluntary programs. If people want their beef labeled as USA beef, then have at it. Get with those programs, absolutely, but don't require it from the rest of us. With the packers, though, I think the real thing that nobody's talking about is the monopoly on the inspectors. If we're going to require, needs to put up some dang inspectors. You know, you talk to the small guys that haven't crossed over to federally inspected, and that's one of the big things they talk about. I can't get an inspector, you know?
Yeah, and they also have
that's
to
the real
revamp
backlog.
their plant. Yeah. They have to revamp everything, even though they may have a better facility than a USDA inspected facility. They don't have it correctly wired or whatever, you know, correctly is in air quotes for all the audio listeners. But yeah, it's just they're arbitrary regulations too, for the most part. And those big guys, they might put up a fight a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're pumping enough volume. They've got enough share of the market. They can withstand that, and those little guys can't. So they just resort to custom processing rather than spending $500,000 to $1 million to get up to date, and then maybe having a USDA inspector once a week, or maybe once every other week, and sometimes once a month, depending on, especially if like you're up in the Northeast, there might be 1 or 2 USDA inspectors for that entire fucking region, and who knows when they're gonna get to you. And yeah, so that, I don't know, that's why the Prime bill makes so much sense, because you're not mandating that anybody do anything. You're just saying, well, not only can you guys do this, but you guys can too, and you don't have to have a USDA inspector. And that's the beauty of it. So why that hasn't gotten more traction, I don't know. You would think, especially after this pandemic, whatever it is, like that it makes too much sense. That's why it's not going anywhere.
And it really didn't go far enough, though. I mean, I love it and I support it and try to lobby for it, but they didn't make it so they could go across state lines, even inside the Prime Act. So it could have gone even better, and state reciprocation, just like the Commerce Clause says there should be.
Yeah, and it would. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much of an impact that'll make at a local level, because that your local guy is going to be swamped, and so he's like, holy shit, I'm going to have to hire some people, and so he's got to hire people. He's got to expand his plant, so that means like you got more construction workers coming in, you got more electricians. That's going to keep the truckers busier, and they're not going to be, for the most part, not going to be selling on a formula basis, so they're going to go out and bid for cattle. That helps the rest of the RCAF arguments. It's I just, while I agree that at least 30% of the market should be cash traded, it should be. It's not, and I don't think you should mandate that, because even if it works,
what other industry in this country are they saying you have to sell a certain amount of your product this way, whatever way that is?
Exactly. Well, and even if it's executed as perfectly as Corbett Wall is laid out, or even if it's proposed as he's laid it out, it's still got to go through committees. So somebody's going to add an amendment on there. They're going to change wording here. They're going to change wording there. Then it's got to go, or it'll start in like a subcommittee. Then it'll go to committee, and then it'll go through to the full floor of the House if it gets that far. And then you're going to get all sorts of pork barrel legislation added onto it. And and guess what? Those Packers got a lot of fucking money, and they're going to add on little things here, little things there, because they don't want to lose their grip on power. It's going to cost them way more in the long run if this thing passes than it is for the $1 million or so they got to spend to lobby. And by the time, if it ever does get passed, it's going to be a watered down bullshit version that says nothing, and there's going to be no teeth behind it. There's going to be no enforcement behind it, and we're going to be back at the same point where instead of Orange Man bad, it's Packer Man bad, and we're just going to start this cycle all over, and we'll have wasted all of that political capital on it. Yeah. And
the big corporations will always find a way to make it work for them. This is no different. I have a lot of worries that setting these mandatory cash trade levels, we're also going to risk a lot of our premiums. you know, we run good quality genetic cattle, and we've put a lot of work into having a good cow herd, and we get a premium for that typically. Not every cow is great. There's a lot of really crappy cattle that hit those sale barns, and you hear a lot of those guys screaming, well, how come I'm not bringing the same rates that they are in Nebraska? Well, because Nebraska is putting out good cattle. There's a difference, and the price has to reflect that.
Your Texas Bush Corianders just aren't going to bring that market.
Well, how dare you? How? Yeah, that's exactly right. But, you know, so like a lot of those Southern guys, that's why they're not hopping on board, because they got to run those trashier type cattle. And whether you want to call them trashy or not, but they're, you know, in the long scheme of things, it ends up being commodity beef because they don't marble as well. They're stringier, they're tougher, they're rangy. But they have to run that down there. They can't get around that a whole lot. You can do a little bit with genetics, but you can't change the climate. Well, maybe you can. We've done it for, you know, I guess the last like 20 years or so. But whatever. We haven't figured out how to accurately control the climate. So they're not going to be running, you know, good registered Angus and registered Hereford and Simmental down in that part of the world. They gotta throw some Bremer or some Zebu in there. And so it behooves them to sell on the formula market, because if they can hit that grading and yield percentage, well, shit, it makes them a lot of money, because they buy those cattle pretty cheap, because they're not as good at cattle. But if you can do a good job on feed, minimize your death loss, and get them to gain, well, you can make a lot of money on the back end. And so it's helped the Southern market. And at the same time, you know, like the Northern guys are really pissed off because, well, you're selling on the commodity market. There's no differentiation on the commodity market. On the, you know, you can differentiate your own product to an individual seller, but once it turns into a futures contract, they're just cattle. Nobody gives a shit about choice, select, breed, whatever. They're just cattle.
Yep.
Just same as a bushel of corn or a bushel of wheat. It's all, unless you meet a certain label, they're all the same. And that's, I don't know. That's why I think I've been kind of pounding the table for this direct to consumer, because it's the perfect opportunity for somebody who wants country of origin labeling and wants to, you know, like, hey, I put all this extra work into my cattle and they're better cattle, and here's why. Okay, well, tell that story and sell it yourself, instead of, you know, trust in the market, you know, the sale barn or the futures market or whatever. Go market the cattle. Hold them back and feed them out on your own, and just sell it. That way, you know, you're like, hey, this is my product, God damn it. It's good product. And I just, and maybe it don't work for a lot of people, but maybe they ought to start thinking about trying to make it work. I mean, the market's changing, and if
I think that's a generational shift though too. That's not how Grandpa did it. You know, there wasn't any individual marketing. You just hauled them off to the sale barn when it was time, and they went. You know, and this is a shift that we're seeing that our generation is going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried though. These same guys who are pushing for the mandatory minimums are also the ones that are pushing for, you know, getting rid of all imports. We don't need any imports, kill the import market. And some of these guys, I think, must have never actually paid attention in econ class or read a basic econ book. Like, that's not how our import-export market works. You can't just cut off imports.
But we've got
a good way to kill our industry.
We've got a deficit, don't you know?
We're importing a totally different product than we're exporting, though. Like, what? That's,
yeah.
You know, in order for us to meet our ground beef demand, we're going to have to devalue all of our cattle so that they're just nothing but, you know, rangy, lean ground. And that's not really how we want to make a living.
All we have is an American market. We got to hit the American demand, which is a lean.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it behooves those Southern guys. Don't even feed your cattle as long. Just get them into hamburger, and they'll go.
Well, they're gonna have to do.
Yeah, Yeah, and then you have those videos that have been shared around. Like that one, he's an RKF guy.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't know if
crying.
yeah, and he's talking about beef coming in from Namibia or Gambia
Yep.
is actually, but then you look at the article and it's from like 2016 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 years
But that
ago.
thing
Yeah,
went
and
viral.
straight to McDonald's. Like, you don't want to eat Namibian beef, don't eat at McDonald's. It tastes like crap anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And McDonald's, it was a private company. McDonald's was importing that meat for their stores. It's not like the American government's going out there buying meat. No, it's McDonald's just saying, no, we need this because we don't have the capacity here to get the meat.
Well, and that this is the same guy. I follow him on Facebook and Twitter, and he'll, like, every other post is about the fake news that you see today. And here, yeah, he's pulling a full Glenn Beck and just crying on camera about an article from 4 years ago. And you're like if you're promoting RKF, you probably not want to do that if you want to get some new membership. But the video did go viral. I think when I saw it, it was at like 2 million views or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah,
I guess it's effective. But yeah, those are the same people that'll that tell you that Kanye is a ridiculous choice, and then just full force behind Donald Trump, or they'll talk about they're just ready for the boogaloo if somebody comes for their guns, but if somebody takes over a couple blocks in Seattle, we need to just send in the full force of the American military and wipe them out.
Yeah,
and
just like wait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
The cops were terrible. They were arresting a woman for playing in the park with her kid. Then it was just, man, these cops are awful. And all of a sudden, the cops kill a black guy. Back the blue.
Yeah, that whole thing, like, yeah, I got some heat because I reshared a Kaepernick post, but he was 100% right, because they he did his whole protest, and it was a big enough deal that it made the NFL news for 2 fucking years. Couldn't watch an actual football game without turning it into a discourse on U.S. race relations. I just wanted to see the Broncos suck in peace. That was all I wanted to do. And no, we had to talk about whether Kaepernick was a domestic terrorist or whether he was the next coming of Jesus. And and now here we are again. And I thought maybe there's a point where we'll actually get some actual reform, because there was about 2.5 seconds there where the whole country was like, wait, hold on, fuck that guy, we need to change something. And then they started looting and rioting, and everybody retreated back to their corners, and then Nancy Pelosi came out in Kunta Kinte garb, and now race relations are healed. And we're just back to where we were, a month and a half ago, except when everybody's more pissed off at each other. Boogaloo can't come fast enough. I'm not even wanting to participate in it. I just want it to happen so we get it over with.
I just want to watch.
I just want to know where I have to move to.
Exactly.
Like, are they rolling over Western Nevada, or am I cool here? I'm going to have to uproot and go back to Southeast Colorado, because nobody's moving there. Let's face that.
No.
Nobody's moving there. So if push comes to shove, I'll just move it.
Where they're going to.
Yeah, exactly. If push comes to shove, I'll just move back in with Wes McKinley, and I'll be fine. But that's the only reason it's like, email me the Boogaloo results so I know where I have to move to, and get it.
Uruguay keeps better and better.
Yes, it does.
Oh man, do they speak English down there? I guess my wife speaks Spanish, so I'll be good. I look Mexican. They'll probably hate me. So.
You're dark enough. You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a good thing about the race wars is I can kind of play right down the middle and just pick a side when it's all said and done, and I'll fit in either way.
Well, yeah, you're Elizabeth Warren, right?
Yeah, except with way better tits. Oh, Lizzie Paleface. I'm actually really disappointed that she didn't get the nomination. I'm really disappointed. I was looking forward to it.
I had that whole debate planned out. You know, the way Trump brought in Bill's victims.
Yeah.
When he was debating Hillary and Center, I was picturing like a bunch of Indians in full headdress right up front. It was going to be awesome.
I was picturing him doing a Randy Marsh when, you know, like when they take over the Indian casino and he's got the feather hanging down. That's what I was picturing from old Lizzie. But you know, R.I.P. Whatever. We got Uncle Joe.
Yeah. So you got an 8-year-old kind of.
Yeah. So I know you guys keep your tinfoil hats pretty handy close by. So we'll put those on for a minute. How far does this COVID hoax go? Like I'm pretty sure this thing is a real thing. But I don't know who it's being pushed by. And I don't know, like I thought maybe it was Bill Gates and the CDC, but I don't know. Like this whole thing is just weird.
I think everyone's confused. I'm not sure anybody's actually running it at this point.
Yeah.
That you may be right. I think we may be seeing like the Fox News definition of anarchism. Like not our version of anarchism, but like the actual just fucking chaos with no head attached to it. I think that you may be onto something there. That might be what we're seeing. Because I don't know, like it's made Ron Paul sound even older. Like, and Ron Paul's really pretty sharp and pretty articulate, but here the last like couple of weeks he's just like I don't even know anymore. And I just don't see an end game. Like I usually can kind of see the end game, what they're trying to do. I don't see it on this one. What's your guys' thoughts?
The only thing I can come up with is it's just about reigning in control and seeing how far they can push it. You know, the new one this week is cash, no cash anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been a plan for a long time.
Cashless society, yeah.
Pushing all those little pet projects, seeing what they can get away with, what will take.
Yeah, what's Bitcoin look like right now? I wonder.
I haven't looked at it for a long time.
It's not doing a whole lot.
No.
How does Bitcoin work? Do you guys understand Bitcoin much?
Kinda. Not really.
I don't either. Because I don't know what gives it its value. That's like I guess it's supposed to be secure, but I don't know how that works. And then like,
wait.
If you,
what gives the U.S. dollar its value?
The U.S. military is what gives the U.S. dollar its
value. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Our good red-blooded American patriots and barrel of oil.
Jesus, I'm pretty sure it comes from Jesus.
It comes from Jesus in Israel. But like, I know it's like Bitcoin's supposed to be secure and uninflatable, but I don't know how. And then like if if you got these preppers that are talking about like EMP pulse or something, or nuclear war, and well, then if we don't have any internet, then what value does Bitcoin have? Like if all your hard drives that it's stored on are no longer in operation, how does Bitcoin have any value?
Yeah.
And that's the part I don't
think it does at that point.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know. I've not delved deep enough into
Yeah,
to
you gotta
Bitcoin.
see the physical metal.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm big in the cowboy world. I like to just swap. So physical goods, cash money. That's about. It's fixing to need a whole lot of cash money to buy anything, but I think your like mid-range diesel ranch pickup's gonna be running about $80,000 to $100,000 here in about 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. When that inflation bomb that they just created hits, it's going to be massive.
Oh man, what? How?
7 to 8 billion, and just trillion spent just this year.
Yeah, they doubled the national budget in the course of 2 months. Well, not doubled the budget. They doubled the output of. Yeah, fucking stupid. But I don't know. Crazy world we're living in. I hope you guys got a lot of ammo. I think we're set here. I hope. I think shit's gonna get crazy either way. What's your predictions for the election? Trump steamrolling this one, or is old Sleepy Joe squeak one by?
I think that they're gonna put off debates, and then they'll accept him. They'll accept Biden, and right after that convention, he's gonna have a health crisis because we can all tell there's something wrong there. And they'll sneak someone else right in there, and it's not even gonna actually be Trump versus Biden. I don't know if it'll be Hillary.
Trump
Possible.
and Hillary.
But it ain't gonna be
Hilda back in the saddle.
I think it could be.
I think you're I've been calling that one for a while, though. I still think that's a very, very real possibility. So, I guess side bet: does Biden and Ghislaine Maxwell get heart palpitations at the same time? COVID heart palpitations?
I bet you Ghislaine Maxwell won't last a week.
Yeah, I'm surprised she's still alive, or allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still gonna happen. That's the crazy part. Is like the whole country is like, oh yeah, that bitch is dead. It's still gonna happen. It is still gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now we're all too busy thinking about Wayfair to worry about any of that. So
what's the Wayfair deal? I haven't done any research.
Something about ordering kids that show up in a cabinet.
Do they work?
I don't know. I haven't tried.
Because if they're white kids, I don't want them because they're gonna be useless. Like
they won't work hard.
If you're gonna send me kids in a cabinet, they better be Asian or Mexican or.
Yep.
I don't want them.
You got to build your own cabinet, and they're gonna be sweet.
Yeah, I've got holes to get dug and colts to get rode. I don't want any white kids. They ain't gonna work hard enough, and they're gonna want to get paid at some point, and I just can't. I'm never gonna financially recover from that. So,
No.
Well, shit, guys, it's been a fun episode. I've enjoyed it. You guys,
Yeah.
You got any plugs you want to do? Your Black Hereford operation or social media or anything like that?
Sure, you can find us at www.blackdragoncattle.com or on Facebook at Black Dragon Cattle Company, LLC.
Cool.
Just check out Black Herefords. There's probably a breeder near you. It's interesting to dig into.
Yep.
Yeah.
For in most of the states, a little bit of Canada, a little bit of Mexico, and looking to expand into Brazil and Uruguay.
Awesome. Cool deal. Well, thanks for coming on. You guys want to sign us off?
No, it's all yours.
Slap some bacon on the biscuit and move your ass or burn a daylight.
Perfect.
See ya.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.